The wind rolled gently across the Kansas fields the morning everything changed. Golden wheat bowed to the breeze like thousands of tiny hearts trembling at once, and the sky was impossibly blue, calm, peaceful, unaware that thousands of miles away the world was tearing itself apart. Michael Turner wiped sweat from his forehead as he stood beside his father in the field, hands stained with dirt, clothes streaked with dust, and a boyish smile lingering on his face despite the exhaustion. He was 19. Young enough to dream, old enough to feel the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. His mother's voice echoed faintly from the porch, calling them for breakfast. His father gave him a nod, the kind that meant job well done, and the two walked back toward the farmhouse. It was quiet, safe, familiar. This was home. This was life, but peace always breaks quietly before it shatters loudly. The radio was already on when they walked in. The announcer's voice carried tension like smoke. Words like Europe, Germany, threat, war brushed through the air, unsettling even the strongest hearts. Michael sat at the table. His mother served eggs with hands that trembled slightly. She tried not to look at the radio. She tried to pretend life would stay simple forever. Mothers always hope the world will spare their sons. The world rarely listens. When the attack on Pearl Harbor came, it didn't arrive softly. It exploded into their lives like thunder tearing the sky apart. News spread faster than breath. People cried in grocery stores. Men stood silent at gas stations. Flags waved, but not in celebration, in urgency, in anger, in fear, in unity. Michael stood in town with his best friend Daniel Rivers, staring at the poster plastered on every wall. "Your country needs you." Behind the slogan, soldiers stood defiantly, strong, heroic, proud. Daniel smirked a little, though his eyes betrayed nervousness. "Looks like they want us," he said. Michael swallowed hard. "They want everyone." He didn't say the real reason. His chest tightened. His brother Henry had already gone with laughter and confidence and promises to send letters every week. And the letters did come at first, full of stories, jokes, hope. Then they slowed, then they stopped. Silence is louder than explosions when it comes from someone you love. The night before Michael decided, he stood outside staring at the horizon. His mother came to stand beside him. She didn't beg him not to go. She didn't cry. She just slipped her hand into his like she used to when he was a child afraid of storms. "If you leave," she whispered, "don't leave your heart behind. Don't let the war steal it. Promise me that." He didn't know if he could keep that promise, but he nodded anyway. Training was a brutal awakening. Days blurred together under shouting sergeants, aching muscles, blistered feet, gunfire cracking like thunder through endless drills. Some boys cried quietly at night. Some pretended they were invincible. Some broke and never came back. Michael met Thomas Hayes there, a man barely older than him but with eyes that already looked tired. Thomas talked about his baby girl constantly, as if saying her name kept her alive in his heart. Joe Carter was the jokester, the one who cracked jokes even when tears burned behind his eyelids. Then there was Daniel, who had enlisted too. Seeing Michael, there felt like destiny forcing them forward together. They laughed some nights, they shared fears others. They weren't soldiers yet. They were boys being molded into something harder, colder, more controlled. When they finally crossed the Atlantic, the ocean stretched endless and dark beneath gray skies. Men leaned over the ship rails, staring at waves rolling endlessly, thinking about home, praying silently. Michael wrote letters every night. Sometimes he didn't have anything hopeful to say, but he wrote anyway because writing meant he was still alive. Somewhere out there, his mother waited for every word. Then came Normandy. There are moments that carve themselves permanently into a man's soul. The beach was chaos, screams, smoke, endless gunfire tearing the air, the sound of bullets hitting metal, the ocean turning red. Michael ran because stopping meant dying. Daniel pulled him forward when fear froze his legs. Sand erupted around them. Thomas yelled directions. Joe tried to laugh but ended up crying instead. Michael felt something shatter inside him that day. Not his courage, not his sanity, something quieter. The boy inside him disappeared and never came back. That was the first time he truly understood death wasn't a story. It wasn't something that happened to others. It was everywhere, breathing beside them, waiting patiently. War wasn't heroic posters anymore. It was holding men while they bled. It was shaking hands trying to reload. It was praying desperately to live one more second. The days after Normandy turned into months of marching through mud, sleeping in cold nights, living on rations and hope. Towns destroyed, families shattered, soldiers learning to survive, not just fight, cold seeping into their bones, hunger shrinking their bodies, yet friendship held them together. Michael and Daniel shared secrets under broken rooftops. Thomas taught them lullabies he sang to his daughter. Joe pretended everything would be okay even when they all knew it might not be. War makes small things sacred: a warm meal, a letter, a laugh, a sunrise. Then came the mission that would change everything forever. They were ordered to clear a town. Snow dusted rooftops gently, like the world dared to look beautiful despite the horrors inside it. Streets empty, doors broken, air full of silence heavy enough to crush lungs. Then gunfire. They ran, they fought. Michael's heart thundered in his chest. Joseph shouted. Thomas cursed breathlessly. Daniel stayed beside Michael like a shadow refusing to leave. Then the explosion. The sound swallowed the world. Michael flew backward, his ears rang. Smoke burned his lungs. For a terrifying second, everything was silent except his heartbeat. Then he saw Daniel, crushed under debris, bleeding, still breathing. Michael crawled to him, ignoring bullets, ignoring everything except the friend who had carried him through fear. He grabbed Daniel's shoulders, tried lifting the rubble, screamed in frustration. Daniel coughed a weak laugh. "You're stubborn, you know that." "Don't talk," Michael begged, tears falling uncontrollably. "I'm getting you out." "You're not," Daniel whispered softly. You have to go." "I'm not leaving you," Michael cried. "I won't." Footsteps, voices, more danger approaching, every second slipping away. Thomas shouting from somewhere distant, Joe yelling Michael's name. Daniel's eyes softened. "Listen, if you stay, we both die. If you go, at least one of us lives. Someone has to remember, someone has to tell the world we were here, that we loved, that we mattered." Michael shook his head desperately. "Please, please." Daniel smiled painfully. "Promise me something then. Don't let this war kill who you are. Don't come home empty inside. Live, really live. That's how you save me." Michael pressed his forehead against Daniel. His tears soaked the dirt between them. Then, with a scream that sounded like his heart breaking, he let go. He ran. Surviving became painful. Daniel died that night. The world didn't stop. Guns didn't fall silent. Orders didn't pause to allow grief. Soldiers learned to cry quietly when no one is watching, when the world is dark so no one has to pretend to be brave. From then on, Michael didn't fight for victory. He fought for memory, for Daniels, for Henry, for everyone who would never go home. The war dragged on, more battles, more snow, more exhaustion. But somewhere inside, Daniel's last words pulsed like a heartbeat: "Don't come home empty." When the war finally ended, there were no triumphant cheers for men like Michael. There was silence, relief, trembling breaths, and guilt. He returned to Kansas. The field still waved in the wind. The sky was still blue. His mother still hugged him like the world depended on it. But Michael wasn't the same boy she once held. Shadows stayed behind his eyes. Nightmares carried him back to battlefields. Sudden noises made his heart race. Sometimes he sat staring at nothing for hours, lost in a war that technically ended but still lived inside him. Time passed. He built a life, married, had children, laughed again, loved deeply. But every joy carried a ghost beside it. Every birthday candle reminded him of those who never got the chance. Every quiet night made him think of Daniel under falling snow. He taught his children empathy, because war taught him the fragility of life. He told them bravery isn't guns or medals. Bravery is loving when the world tells you to harden. Bravery is crying and still standing. Bravery is living for those who couldn't. Years later, older now, hair gray, hands trembling slightly, Michael stood at a memorial wall filled with names carved forever into stone. He searched slowly, carefully, reverently. Then he found it. Daniel Rivers. His fingers traced the letters like they were made of gold. Tears filled his eyes, but this time they weren't just pain. They were love, gratitude, memory. "I remembered you," he whispered softly. "I'm still living, just like you told me to. You mattered, you still do, you always will." The wind blew gently, warm and comforting, like an old friend wrapping arms around him. For the first time in so many years, the weight in his chest loosened, not vanished, but softened. He closed his eyes. War had taken much, but it had not taken his heart. And because of that, because he kept living, because he remembered, Daniel did not truly die. He lived in stories, in love, in every heartbeat of the man who refused to forget him. Michael turned toward the sunlight and walked forward, not away from the past, but carrying it gently like something precious. And for the first time, he finally felt at peace.